Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Yvette Smiley and this is Storytime with Yvette Smiley, Murder and Mystery. Today I'll tell you about the first Australian woman to be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. She was known as Katherine Mary Knight, who was born on 24th October 1955. Katherine had been raised in an unconventional and dysfunctional family environment. Her mother, Barbara Rohan, had been married to Jack Rohan and lived with him in the small town of Aberdeen in New South Wales Hunter Valley. Barbara and Jack had 4 sons before Barbara began an adulterous relationship with Ken Knight, a friend and co-worker of her husband. The Rohan and Knight families were well known in the conservative rural town, and the affair caused a major scandal. Local backlash forced Barbara and Ken to move to Moore. None of her 4 sons went with her. The 2 eldest boys continued to reside with their father, while the 2 younger sons were sent to be raised by an aunt in Sydney. Barbara had 4 additional children with Ken, including twin girls. Katherine was the younger of these twin daughters. In 1959, when Knight was just 4 years old, Jack Rohan died and his 2 older boys, who had been living with him, moved in with Barbara, their mother, and Ken. Katherine's father was an alcoholic who openly used violence and intimidation and would rape his wife Barbara up to 10 times a day. Barbara, in turn, often told her daughters intimate details of her sex life and how much she hated sex and men. Later, when Katherine complained to her mother that one of her partners wanted to take part in a sex act that she did not want to perform, Barbara told her to put up with it and stop complaining. Katherine claims she was frequently sexually assaulted by several members of her family, which continued until she was aged 11. Although there are doubts about the details, psychiatrists accept her claims, and the events have been largely confirmed by other members of the family. When Katherine attended Muswellbrook High School, she became a loner and is remembered by classmates as a bully who stood over small children. She assaulted at least one boy at school with a weapon and once injured a teacher, who was subsequently found to have acted in self-defense. By contrast, when not in a rage, Katherine was a model student and often earned awards for her good behavior. Upon leaving school at 15 without having learned to read or write, she gained employment as a cutter in a clothing factory. 12 months later, she left to start what she referred to as her dream job, cutting up offal at the local abattoir. There, she was quickly promoted to boning and was given her own set of butcher knives. At home, the knives were hung over her bed so that they would always be handy if she needed them. Katherine first met co-worker David Stanford Kellett in 1973. Kellett engaged in heavy drinking, which stemmed from 2 traumatic incidents from his previous railway job. First, when his best friend was killed in front of him in a shunting accident, and later when he rescued injured occupants of a school bus in Kempsey, which had been struck by a train, killing 6 children. He eventually lost the job due to deteriorating behavior and performance, but he soon got work at the nearby Aberdeen abattoir and became close friends with Katherine's brother. Often, if Kellett got into a fight, Knight would step in and back him up with her fists. In Aberdeen, she was well known for physically threatening anyone who upsets her. Katherine married Kellett in 1974 at her request, with the couple arriving at the service on her motorcycle with a very intoxicated Colette on the pillion. As soon as they arrived, Catherine's mother, Barbara, gave Colette some advice. "The old girl said to me to watch out. You better watch this one or she'll fucking kill you. Stir her up in the wrong way or do the wrong thing and you're fucked. Don't ever think of playing up on her. She'll fucking kill you." And that was her mother talking. "She told me she's got something loose. She's got a screw loose somewhere." On their wedding night, Catherine tried to strangle Colette. She later explained it was because he fell asleep after only having intercourse 3 times. The marriage proved particularly violent. In May 1976, shortly after the birth of their first child, Melissa Ann, Colette left Catherine for another woman and moved to Queensland, apparently unable to cope with the abuse. The next day, Catherine was seen pushing her new baby in a pram down the main street, violently throwing the pram from side to side. She was admitted to St. Elmo's Hospital, where she was diagnosed with postnatal depression and spent several weeks recovering. After being released, Catherine placed 2-month-old Melissa on a railway line shortly before a train was due. She then stole an axe, went into town and threatened to kill several people. A vagrant known in the district as Old Ted found and rescued Melissa, by all accounts only few minutes before the train passed. Knight was arrested and again taken to St. Elmo's Hospital, but apparently she recovered and signed herself out the following day. A few days later, Knight slashed the face of a woman with one of her knives and demanded she drive her to Queensland to find Colette. This woman escaped after they stopped at a service station, but by the time police arrived, Catherine had taken a young boy hostage and was threatening him with the knife. She was disarmed when police attacked with her brooms and was admitted to the Morisset Psychiatrist Hospital. Catherine was released on 9 August 1976 into the care of her mother-in-law and along with Colette. They moved to Ipswich, where she obtained a job. On March 6, 1983, they had another daughter, Natasha. In 1984, Catherine left Colette and moved, first to her parents' house in Aberdeen and then to a rented house in nearby Muswell Brook. Catherine had 2 more relationships before meeting John Charles Thomas Price, born on 4th April 1955, who was the father of 3 children when Catherine had an affair with him. In February 2000, a series of assaults on Price culminated with Catherine stabbing him in the chest. Finally fed up, he kicked her out of his house. On 29th February, he stopped at the Scone Magistrates Court on his way to work and took out a restraining order in an attempt to keep her away from both himself and his children. That afternoon, Price told his co-workers that if he did not come to work the next day, it would be because Catherine had murdered him. Despite their pleas that Price should not return home, he stated that he was afraid that Catherine would kill his children if he did not. Price had arrived home to find that Catherine, although not there herself, had sent the children away for a sleepover at a friend's house. He then spent the evening with his neighbors before returning home and going to bed at 11 p.m. Earlier that day, Catherine had bought a new black lingerie and had videotaped all her children while making comments which have since been interpreted as a crude will. She later arrived at Price's house while he was sleeping and sat watching television for a few minutes before having a shower. She then woke Price. They had sex, after which he fell asleep. At 6 a.m. the next day, the neighbor became concerned that Price's car still was in the driveway, and when he did not arrive at work, his employer sent a worker to see what was wrong. Both the neighbor and the worker tried knocking on Price's bedroom window to wake him up, but they alerted police after noticing blood on the front door. Police arrived at 8 a.m. Breaking down the back door, police found Price's body, with Katherine comatose from taking a large number of pills. She had stabbed Price with a butcher's knife while he was sleeping. According to the blood evidence, he awoke and tried to turn the light on before attempting to escape while Katherine chased him through the house. He managed to open the front door and get outside, but he either stumbled or back inside or was dragged back into the hallway, where he died after bleeding out. Later, Katherine went into Aberdeen and withdrew $1,000 from Price's account at an ATM. Price's autopsy revealed that he had been stabbed at least 37 times in both front and back with his body, with many of the wounds extending to vital organs. Several hours after Price had died, Katherine skinned him and hung the skin from a meat hook. She then decapitated Price and cooked parts of his body, serving up the meat with baked potato, pumpkin, beetroot, zucchini, cabbage, yellow squash, and gravy into 2 settings at the dinner table, along with notes beside each plate, each having the name of one of Price's children on it. She was preparing to serve his body parts to his children. A third meal was thrown on the back lawn for unknown reasons, and it is speculated that Katherine had attempted to eat it but could not. Price's head was found in a pot with vegetables. The pot was still warm. Katherine's initial offer to plead guilty to manslaughter was rejected, and she was arraigned on 2nd March 2001 on the charge of murdering Price, to which she entered a plea of not guilty. Her trial was initially fixed for 23rd July 2001, but it was adjourned due to her counsel's illness, and it was refixed to 15th October 2001. On November 8, Justice O'Keefe pointed out that the nature of the crime and Katherine's lack of remorse required a severe penalty. He sentenced her to life imprisonment, refused to fix a non-parole period, and ordered that her papers be marked never to be released, the first time that this had been imposed on a woman in Australian history. And that is the story of Katherine Knight, the first Australian woman to be given the life sentences without parole. Hope you enjoyed today's story. Please subscribe to my channel, like the video, and comment. Bye.